Caribbean Newsline is brought to you by the Barbados Tourism Marketing Inc.
Guyana's Deputy Police Commissioner suspended amid corruption and misconduct allegations. Our top story in Caribbean Newsline for Wednesday, June 26, from the CMC News Center in Bridgetown. I'm Ricardo Roberts. Good evening. Thanks for joining us. Guyana's Public Security Minister Kemraj Ramjatan is seeking to assure the nation that all is well in the police force following corruption allegations against its Crime Chief and Deputy Police Commissioner for Law Enforcement. Lyndon Alves has been suspended from the Guyana Police Force pending the outcome of investigations into serious allegations of corruption and misconduct. And the Police Force Office of Professional Responsibility, the OPRS, is conducting the investigation. Now, speaking at a press conference on Wednesday, Minister Ramjatan said he sees no problem with the OPR conducting the investigation, even if some people see it as the police investigating the police. While refusing to offer comment on the specific allegations against Alves, Ramjatan said he knows the OPR will be taking statements which will be examined. The Public Security Minister said Alves was suspended from the police by the Police Commissioner, and that's part of the procedure for such investigations. He said if the senior cop is cleared of the allegations, he will return to duty. Several junior and senior officers of the police force have leveled allegations against the crime chief, including engaging in corrupt practices involving a number of business people in the Berbice area. He has also been accused of misconduct. The crime chief has not responded to the allegations against him. We get more in this HGP News report.
The serving members of the force, in the form of whistleblowers, took a very bold decision and aired concerns to the media, providing several damning allegations against several senior members of the Guyana Police Force. The matters has since engaged the attention of the police's Office of Professional Responsibility. The whistleblowers allege acts of reissuance of a weapon to a policeman who was reprimanded and removed from frontline duty after he had an ongoing matter involving the firearm. On Tuesday, unconfirmed reports through several media entities claimed that Deputy Commissioner and Crime Chief Lyndon Alves was suspended from work to facilitate the investigation. However, through sources, Nightly News was able to confirm that on Tuesday morning, the crime chief reported for duty and had not received a formal letter from the OPR about his suspension, up to news time. The OPR is also probing allegations that cell phone numbers for a number of police officers were found in the phones of 3 bandits who were killed by the police during a shootout recently. The police, through a statement, denied the allegations. Earlier this month, during a press conference, Police Commissioner Leslie James promised the media an update on whether the numbers found were that of police officers.
Those matters are also sensitive. We do not necessarily speak on those because we do not want to forewarn anyone. The crime chief is fully aware of that approach, but I can promise you I will give a subsequent press conference in that regard.
Health authorities in Jamaica are warning that the current heat wave could be fatal, and they're urging residents to take preventative measures to deal with the excessive heat. A statement from the Ministry of Health and Wellness says extremely high temperatures are being recorded this year. Last weekend, temperatures in the capital, Kingston, soared to a record 39.1 degrees Celsius. We get more in this report from TVJ News.
So many complaints of excess heat forcing persons to seek shelter and cooling from the sun. We spoke with climate service specialist at the Meteorological Service, Glenroy Brown, to see how this year's temperatures compare to previous years. He says last year, 2018, was the fourth hottest year on the Met Service's 30-year record. A comparative study so far this year shows startling data.
Several parishes were actually receiving higher than normal temperature than what it was last year. As a matter of fact, in the corporate area, in Kingston, there were stations that were recording as high as 39 degrees Celsius. That's 102 degrees Fahrenheit. So it's a significant drop. It is unbearable, and the word that we use for these temperatures is unprecedented. We have never seen these temperatures before on our instrument.
The increased temperatures were recorded last week. Summer officially started last Friday, June 21, and already a record has been set.
The warmest day ever was on Saturday when we measured a few stations across the island. And as far as St. Elizabeth all the way into Kingston, we're seeing temperatures either between 0.5 to 3 degrees above the normal.
He warns that while 3 degrees may sound small, it's not. For the average adult, normal body temperature is 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit. A high fever is 99 degrees and above. Water boils at 100 degrees. And so it's understandable that the high temperatures now are serious. But remember, we're only in June.
If we're already receiving record temperatures in June, and the projections from the Meteorological Service going into August is that we're going to have less rainfall, we're going to have higher temperatures, so we're looking for hotter days.
In a news
The Ministry of Health and Wellness is urging people to consume more water, exercise indoors where possible, avoid being in the sun during the middle of the day, and wear lightweight, light-colored clothing. Each year, farmers suffer significant crop losses during the rainy season, but farmers in Grenada say they are now being protected thanks to a climate change mitigation project addressing flooding. We get more in this GBN News report.
Recognized as one of the most serious challenges to the Caribbean. UNDP says with the likelihood that climate change will exacerbate the frequency and intensity of the yearly hurricane season, comprehensive measures are needed to protect at-risk communities. For years, farmers in the Las Adres area complained bitterly of losses as a result of the nearby river overflowing its banks and the lack of storage for crops. The project targeted these specific areas among others. Former Agriculture Senator Keith Clouden is among benefiting farmers.
The losses were quite significant over the years. I mean, in any one season, we would lose between 45 and 65%, 70%. And in a real bad period, like in 2015, we lost everything. We lost 100%. And of course, in the Ivan, Emily period, those are periods when we lost everything. But on average, you lose between 45 and 65% annually.
The regional project, at a tune at US $15 million, was launched in 2016. Donna Gittins, technical specialist, says along with the Las Adres project, there are several others, including Maribo, Bacolet, and 3 in Carriacou.
What we've done is rehabilitated a dam that was over on this side of the farm so that they can access more water for irrigation and to reduce some of the flooding in the area. We undertook a topographical study to enable them to see where drains should be properly placed. So that was done, and drains within the area were actually cleaned and some drains rehabilitated to move water off. One of the biggest things we've done is rehabilitate the storage facility behind me, and that would be for post-harvest storage of the crops for the farmers. So this would be a communal space for the farmers in the area to store their crops after they're harvested before they go to market.
You're watching Caribbean Newsline. Still to come, concern in St. Lucia about nurse migration. We'll tell you what those concerns are after the break.
Welcome to this year's 50th Caribbean Broadcast Union Assembly on the island of San Andres. San Andres is a small archipelago located in between Jamaica and Panama in the western Caribbean Sea. A lush, exotic island rich in culture, history, gastronomy, and breathtaking scenic views. Known for its beaches and 7-colored crystalline waters, the island of San Andres will be proudly hosting this year's event. CBU members will enjoy top-of-the-line accommodations for an unforgettable experience in San Andres, connecting Caribbean nations through this year's 50th edition of the CBU Assembly.
Health authorities in St. Lucia are expressing concern over the steady departure of nurses for employment opportunities overseas. Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Health, Felix St. Hill, says an average of 2 nurses quit the health service on a weekly basis, and this severely affects the delivery of primary and secondary health care. We get more in this HTS News Force report.
St. Lucian nurses are calling it quits. The situation at the island's main healthcare facility has affected several sections of its operations, including the Intensive Care Unit ICU. According to the Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Health and Wellness, while the mass exodus at the Victoria Hospital is alarming, it is common with small island developing states.
I think what is happening at Victoria right now, especially with the ICU unit, is the fact that we are really feeling probably the pressure of the nurses who are resigning and taking up offer of employment in the more developed countries like the USA and the UK. But of course, we have sufficient nurses at least to keep ICU operational. So we think sometimes it is a rumor that, there are no nurses at ICU. The fact is that the pressure that we are facing is not only at ICU, but in all different sections of the secondary care unit, which is Victoria Hospital.
He believes that with the number of unemployed nurses in St. Lucia, this latest development makes room for those who need jobs. He says there isn't much that the Ministry of Health is able to put in place to prevent nurses from migrating. He argued that wages and working conditions will always be more attractive in developed countries such as the USA and the UK.
Well, I think the good thing about it is that we have a number of nurses who are unemployed in St. Lucia. Because we know some time ago, about 175 nurses were trained in Cuba. Quite a bit of these nurses are unemployed. Because let's face it, within the permanent structure of government, we have a certain number of positions, and we cannot fill positions beyond those numbers. Of course, the crunch is always that for not only for the health sector, but for all different sectors, you need additional positions, additional personnel. But let's face it, again, as a developing country with the limited resources, you cannot promise all nurses that all nurses in St. Lucia will be employed.
He says while nurses await the transition of the Millennium Heights Medical Complex, many are complaining about the short-term contracts they've been given.
With the advent of the commissioning of the Millennium Heights Medical Complex, we also have nurses on short-term contracts. Of course, has been an issue that nurses are working on short-term contracts for about 3 months, and they are raising issue about that. But the fact is that the Millennium Heights Medical Complex will be a statutory organization. In fact, it is a statutory organization. So these nurses cannot be employed by the Public Service Commission.
Digicel has denied statements by Antigua and Barbuda's Prime Minister Gaston Brown that the company is in discussions with authorities to sell its operations in St. John's. It comes as the legal battle continues over government's move to have 2 foreign companies, including Digicel, share spectrum space with the state-owned Antigua Public Utilities Authority. Last weekend, Brown told listeners to his private radio station that the government wants majority ownership, and if Digicel is prepared to consider APUA acquiring Digicel Antigua, then they may have a deal. He said he believes Digicel is showing an inclination to have possibly a 49-51% percentage situation. But a statement from Digicel said the company has not received any approaches from the Prime Minister or anyone in government. It described Brown's statement as a distraction, noting that the real issue is the illegal actions by the government in seeking to confiscate Digicel's legally allocated spectrum for the benefit of the state-owned operator. Last month, Digicel defended its decision to secure a High Court order preventing the government from sharing any of its 850 megahertz spectrum it has been allocated with the state-owned Apua. Guyana's manufacturers told to promote responsible economic growth, and Jamaica's central bank wants financial institutions to lend more to the private sector. Marie-Claire Williams has the details in this week's Newsline Business.
U.S. Ambassador to Guyana, Sarah Ann Lynch, has reminded the country's manufacturing sector of the need to promote responsible economic growth. Her advice comes as Guyana prepares for an economic boom from the oil industry. Ambassador Lynch was addressing a recent forum of the Guyana Manufacturing and Services Association.
Expected first oil early next year will make the growth part easy. But as the country enters into another phase of its economic development, the responsible part might be more difficult. Boom times don't always result in the most responsible choices. We only need to look to Guyana's west to see the story of what mismanagement of petroleum resources can do.
The Bank of Jamaica wants financial institutions to lend more to the private sector. The senior deputy governor at the central bank, John Robinson, says expansion of private sector credit is still sluggish. The latest figures from the BOJ show a 50% increase in lending to the private sector in the last year. And tourism officials in the Bahamas are encouraging entrepreneurs to take advantage of growing opportunities in tourism. Nassau has already recorded 6.6 million visitors this year, and the senior director of Cruise and Maritime, Carlos Stewart, says they need to be prepared for increased arrivals.
The fact that almost 80% of our visitors come by cruise and tours really is a major area of benefit for our people from the cruise industry. We want to make sure that they are ahead with regards to their preparations, improving standards, and also their ability to be able to take advantage of what is to come.
Marie-Claire Williams, Newsline Business.
And ahead in sport, West Indies hoping to pull off a victory against India in Thursday's ICC World Cup match. Stay with us. Sport is next.
Welcome to this year's 50th Caribbean Broadcast Union Assembly on the island of San Andres. San Andres is a small archipelago located in between Jamaica and Panama in the Western Caribbean Sea. A lush, exotic island rich in culture, history, gastronomy, and breathtaking scenic views. Known for its beaches and 7-colored crystalline waters, the island of San Andres will be proudly hosting this year's event. CBU members will enjoy top-of-the-line accommodations for an unforgettable experience in San Andres, connecting Caribbean nations through this year's 50th edition of the CBU Assembly.
Coming up, the top tour operators are in town and connecting you to Barbados. He's a master of art. Leroy Clark is all about aiming for the summit. cruising the seas in different forms while competing to be the very best. It's all next on Caribbean Passport on this station.
West Indies would be looking to dig deep and pull off a victory against the top-ranked Indians to stay alive in Thursday's clash at Old Trafford. The Caribbean men have won just one game in 6 outings and lie 8th in the 10th nation standings on 3 points, with virtually no chance of finishing in the top 4 and reaching the semi-finals. Now, speaking to the media ahead of the crucial match, Captain Jason Holder is hopeful his charges can finally come to the party and make their effort count.
I think at the start of this tournament, we all match up every single team, and most captains said that it's a competition where once you play good cricket on any given day, anyone can beat anyone, and it's just a matter for us to put together a complete game. We've shown glimpses here and there of what we can produce, and as a side we just haven't brought it together collectively more often than not, and it's hurt us in the games before. So yeah, tomorrow's another opportunity for us to bring it all together and play a perfect game.
Now, Holder admits that the last 2 defeats had dampened the spirits in the camp, but he remains optimistic about their chances in the remaining matches.
It has sunk in. It's been 2 crushing defeats, and we felt them drastically over the last couple of days. But it's a situation where learning must take place. I think it's just significant for everybody just to draw on their own resources, look themselves in the mirror and try to make sure that learning takes place. And it's a matter for us just to keep going. There's no point to drop our heads. We've got 3 games left in this campaign, and we've just got to win our 3 games.
Staying with cricket, a brilliant century by Babar Azam kept Pakistan in contention for a spot in the semi-finals of the ICC Cricket World Cup after they stunned top-ranked New Zealand by 6 wickets at Edgbaston on Wednesday. After winning the toss, the Black Caps were in trouble early thanks to efforts by medium pacer Shaheen Afridi, whose 4-wicket haul left the Kiwis reeling on 46 for 4. However, Colin Grantham and Jimmy Neesham's 132-run partnership repaired the damage as they took New Zealand's total to 237 for 6. In reply, Azam Baba brought up his 10th ODI century from 124 balls, and his partnership with Haris Sohail saw the Pakistanis rob the victory in fine style. Here are the highlights.
Glorious. 2 boundaries in the over. Full toss and a half volley, get the treatment. Straight up. Martin Guptill, you've got to back him. And that's why, safe hands. And Trent Boult strikes. An edge, and they've taken second slip out. And Boult can't believe it.
Watch that into the bat. That is absolutely fine. That Babar Azam at his best. Up and over. Past the bat twice, 2 boundaries. In the air, it's going to carry. Oh, what a grab that is. What a grab, diving forward, full length. Pick that up, and it could go away now, just short of 6.
Oh, quality. Good timing. Way to start after drinks. Gives it away. Last ball. It was a tidy over up until that point.
There's a chance. There's an opportunity. He's thrown it away, Hafiz.
Make that 50. Got it. It sounded really big, and it is.
Through the gap and 4. Gets a short one, puts that away as well. Brilliant batting.
Have a look at this one. A smash this time through square leg. Like that's a smash. That is such a good shot. I think it's gone all the way. It's a skimmer.
And again, even better that time, I think, Ramiz.
brilliant from Haris Sahel. A very polished half-century.
Here we go! What a century from Babar Azam, under pressure. Scores a level. Oh, close call.
Thank you. I'm ready to make my decision to the screen. My decision is out. I'll repeat, out.
Full toss into the gap, and Pakistan wins a crucial game here against the New Zealanders. Pakistan win by 6 wickets against.
And talismanic opener Chris Gayle has rescinded his one-day international retirement and will now be available to face India in a 3-match series in the Caribbean this August. He made the announcement on Wednesday, 4 months after indicating the ongoing ICC World Cup would be his swan song from the ODI format. Now, Gayle, who turns 40 in September, is West Indies' most experienced player at the World Cup. He played 295 ODIs and scored 10,345 runs, along with 25 hundreds.
I'm definitely up there with the greats, without a doubt. Like I said, I enjoy each and every moment of West Indies, playing for West Indies. Like I said, it's still not the end. Still have a few games to go, and maybe another series to go as well. So who knows? We'll see what happens. But like I said, it's been. It's been a lot of ups and downs. I got to say, and I really enjoy each and every moment. But we share some quality moments with some quality players as well. Started my career with the likes of Courtney Walsh, Curtly Ambrose. You watch those guys on TV, then you realize they're in a dressing room, with this bunch of guys. And Brian Lara, his first captain as well, Carl Hooper. So it's some quality moments when you look back on it. I would have to analyze it and give you a full details and a better exclusive interview on that particular moment, and then we can take it further. But like I said, I can't.
And that's the Sports Tables. We'll be right back.
Caribbean Newsline is brought to you by the Barbados Tourism Marketing Inc.
For the first time since this BBC broadcast aired on the radio 70 years ago, a group of DC-3 and C-47 Dakotas carrying paratroopers fly the skies over Normandy, taking part in the 70th anniversary of D-Day. Known as DAX over Normandy, this display of aircraft and jumpers was developed by one of the lead organizers, Peter Brom, an avid history buff and a paratrooper with more than 6,000 jumps.
Okay, so now I kind of want to just go back just a little bit. So we went from security, right? Mm-hmm. And then when you were introduced into the films, you were what?
So I'm a locations person. So basically, I started off as a PA.
Nice.
The bottom.
So you started off as a PA.
Yeah, locations PA at like the bottom. Like literally.
Wait a minute. So you start off at the bottom. Most PAs say that they have to be there for 10 years.
Again, the major developments of this day: Guyana's Deputy Police Commissioner suspended amid corruption and misconduct allegations, and is Port West Indies hoping to pull off a victory against India in Thursday's ICC World Cup match. That's Caribbean Newsline. For news and sports around the club, subscribe to Caribnews.com. For more of our program, log on to Caribvision TV and check out our YouTube channel. We'll be back here again tomorrow, but from all of us at CMC News, thank you for watching. Have yourselves a good night.